The video begins with 100 Decibels member Jordan Sangalang, a young man with tan skin, close-cropped black hair, and black stud earrings alone in an empty classroom full of wooden desks. In the background, there's a long forest green blackboard with some chalk scuffs. Jordan is wearing a white button-up shirt rolled to the elbows. The performance will later feature Joanna Hawkins, a slim white woman wearing a brown shirt and a wicked grin, and Christopher Guzman, a young man with tan skin and shaggy black hair. Cripplepalooza title card reads 100 Decibels in Thriller. Jordan walks into an empty classroom and looks around. He sees something. He furrows his brow and reaches off screen. His hand comes back holding a thick paperback. He looks at us, confused. He opens the book. The cover says, Understanding Deaf Culture in Search of Deafhood. His eyes scan the page and he looks at us again.
Whoa. It says here, deaf people, back in the day, they were successful and intelligent. They were successful business owners and scientists, lawyers and philosophers, you name it. Incredible.
He turns the pages.
They would even sign socially and interact with the larger community. I wonder how they actually did that. How do they interact with the larger community? How do they communicate with others?
He turns the page.
Of course. Well, the others, they just learned how to sign. I wonder where they learned how to sign.
He examines us, then smiles.
Of course, the answer's right there, right in front of me this whole time.
He reaches out of frame again and comes back. With a textbook labeled, Signing Naturally, Student Workbook. He grins widely and shows it off to us.
Of course, it makes sense.
He opens the textbook. He looks amazed. He flips the pages.
You know, deaf culture really is beautiful, as is ASL.
He reads some more and raises his eyebrows. Furrows them. He makes shapes with his mouth. He purses his lips. He opens his mouth wide and wiggles his tongue. He snaps his teeth together. He winces.
There's a lot of practice that goes along with learning ASL.
He stretches. He yawns. He makes more faces. He loses steam. His eyelids start to droop as he reads. His head lolls back and his mouth hangs open. His body blips out and back into the classroom, which is slowly filling with cold, white light. An unkempt graveyard. A claw-like hand reaches out of a grave. A corpse, Joanna, with messy shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes with dark circles under them, pushes herself up out of the grave and grins. Christopher appears alone on screen, his movements slow and zombie-like. He pivots jerkily, his head cocked, his eyes wide and staring, his mouth gaping. Joanna crawls further out of the grave, reaching her foot above the soil, and starts to groove to the beat. She begins signing, crossing her open hands in front of each other. Christopher shuffles. Joanna pinches her fingers and draws a line down from her chin, flicks two fingers under one arm, pulls something out of her forehead, moves her hand in a circle like a DJ, makes a clawing motion by her skull, moves a fist from her mouth to beneath an open palm, wiggling her finger like a worm until it pops out from beneath her hand. She stares in horror, points at it, and grabs a scream from her gaping mouth. The scream becomes a hand that chokes her. She circles a finger in front of her grinning face. Mime's devil horns then reaches T-Rex-like hands at us. She points her hands at each other, horrified, poses like a zombie, hands grasping, mouth open. She waves a surf's up shape. Christopher ambles, then rushes at the camera. Joanna makes a chest-ripping open motion and the surf's up gesture again. She pokes a waving hand above her other forearm, then pinches and bobs her hands at either side of her head. She mimes devil horns, her tongue sticking out, and waves her fingers like a Halloween ghost, grabbing at us. Christopher has something clenched in his hands that he is taking enthusiastic bites from. Jordan rises from the graveyard, fists clenched, yelling like a punk. He makes devil horn squiggles around his head as he grimaces horribly. He flaps his fingers and tongue. He signs rapidly, repeating some of Joanna's movements, but he pushes them away. He waves his hands at us, then towards himself. His fists pop open and shut. One hand shoots up from the other, fingers wriggling. He begins his sign loop again. His hands and fingers frantically move from one sign to another. A flicking water motion. Fists flying. Open and close. Chest ripping. Flicking water. Devil squiggles. Chest ripping, leering at the camera. Christopher's head rolls on his neck, his tongue hanging out. Joanna returns, surfs up, chest ripping, wave, grasping, chest ripping. Two fingers slap two fingers, point to the right, squiggle from a fist. She takes out her tongue and makes her hands into pincers. Christopher's eyes roll back in his head as he gapes at the sky. Joanna continues her loop, adding satisfied my belly is full, hand circles, belly full, chest rip, wave, surfs up, chest rip. Christopher snaps at the air. Joanna, chest rip, wave, grasp, chest rip. Two fingers slap two fingers, point, squiggle from a fist, pincer fingers. Points at herself, dino claws, belly full, chest rip, belly full, chest rip, wave. Christopher wanders past the graves, gnawing on food, staring wildly all around him. The camera cuts to a tight shot of him stuffing his mouth with the mystery food he holds in his fist. It sticks out of his mouth, and he rushes at the camera. Jordan. Jab down, chest rip. Push down, fists open and closed. Wave away, wave at chin. Devil squiggles, raised eyebrows, squint. Fish face, teeth clench, yell, frown and leer, yell. Tongue out. Fists. Rip. Push. Fists. Fists, flick, rip, squiggle, wave away, wave itself, fists, rip, scooping water, squiggle, yell, blowing out a candle, big eyes, frown, what? Yell, candle, slap camera. Jordan jolts awake back in the classroom. He looks in dismay at the Understanding Deaf culture and opens Signing Naturally books. He slowly closes the textbook.
So, is ASL still that beautiful language? I don't know. I wonder about that.
He exhales, blowing out his cheeks, and leaves.
100 Decibels is Jordan Sangalang, Joanna K. Hawkins, and Christopher de Guzman.